Hi and welcome. Today I've got two art cards, not artist trading cards because my size is a little different, although you could definitely scale them for an artist trading card. But I'm making a pair of them. They're both going to be in the same family but different. I'm using this circle or dot stencil that I cut on my Cricut. And the first one I'm doing yellow dots with mustard seed, the color mustard seed Distress Ink. And the second one, the dots will be picked raspberry Distress Ink. So I'm really just doing like a reverse of one. So I want to let them dry. And then I'm going to use the Distress Micro glaze. And you don't need a lot, so I'm just kind of putting a little bit on my mat. And then putting the stencil back, but shifted slightly. And then I just start going through the stencil with the micro glaze. And that will act as a resist to any future inking. So I wipe off my stencil just so it doesn't get any pink on this sheet and do the same thing. I pick up some more micro glaze and put it through the holes. And I think this one shifts a little bit, but that's okay really, because I think it kind of adds to the character of it. So I let that dry a little bit. And now I am putting the picked raspberry on the rest of the yellow. And I'll put the mustard seed on the rest of the pink dots. And you can see where I've shifted it just a tad, that there's a little bit of white outlining those dots. My neighbor's dog is starting to bark. Well, hopefully he stopped barking now, so I'm resuming. But okay, on the pink, I'm adding the mustard seed. Now, already I can tell I prefer the yellow dots with the pink, but in the end it doesn't really look bad because I kind of toned down that yellow a little bit. And I'm adding a background stamp, a text stamp script, and I'm doing that with pumice stone Distress Ink, just to give it a little more something going on in the back. I didn't want it to be real dark. And then I just take a paper towel and just wipe off any of the stamp that got into the circles. That way it all looks like it's behind the dots. And I'm taking some crackling campfire and I'm just going to get some splatters on these cards. And then I dry them. And here's where I think, okay, there's just way too much brightness of that yellow. And I just spray on some water because it hasn't been sealed other than the pink dots. And I can just lift some of that color off. And then I spray into my hand and just kind of flick some water spots on both cards, and then use my roll of paper towels to kind of lift off a little more, just to give it a little more character, a little more something going on the cards. And now I'm taking some Ideology collage paper. This, I think it's called Botanical. I can't remember now. And I'm just taking a water pen and tracing around a couple areas I want, and just carefully pulling it from the rest of the sheet. If you do this, you don't have such a solid cut line, and it's a lot less visible where the tissue ends. And so I'm gonna be applying those with some collage medium. And I'm using my silicone brush and just trying to figure out whereabouts I need to apply the collage medium. And I want to make sure it goes off the edge if it's like the stem. I want to make sure it goes off the edge so that it doesn't just abruptly end before the bottom of the card. And just smooth it out. And then I'll do the same to this other one. And again, they're going to be like sister cards, and so I don't want them exactly the same, but where you can tell they kind of go together. And I just dry them up a little bit and trim off the excess, which isn't much, but I trim it off. And then I have these birds that I've cut on my Cricut, and I'm going to give them a background stamp, and I'm using Archival Ink slate, I think. I'll have it listed in the description. And then I'm going to just smoosh them in some picked raspberry. And I typically use a technique where I put it on and then I dry it, and then but keep dabbing it into the color so I get some more deep color and then some light color, and it usually works out really well. Do the same with this one, but it just needed a bit more I think I tried just adding water, but I end up having to add just a bit more ink just so I can finish doing this bird up. I'm going to give the bird a couple different splatters. This first one is Vintage Photo, and so I'm just going to splatter some of that down. And also I'm going to just buff up the edge to give the edge a little more definition. And then do the same on the cards. Try to darken the corners a little bit extra, because if someone's been messing with it, the corners are probably going to be darker than any other part of it. And I'm bringing out my pot of gold. I've had it for years. I don't know where I got it, and I looked for it on Amazon, can't find it, so good luck if you want to search it, but it's a really great gold splatter. And I've been trying a couple different brushes for splatter, and I end up going back to my favorite, which is not this one. It's just leaving it's putting a lot of splatter on, but like real light color splatter. And now I'm going to add some to my cards as well, and that's when I grab my trusty good splatter brush. That one just seems to leave nice big droplets of splatter. And then I dry all of those, get that splatter all dry. And now I'm going to start assembling my collage. And that is a postcard from one of Tim Holt's ephemera packs. And I'll have to list that in the supplies list in the description, because I don't remember which one it was. And then I'm also pulling out from his numbers list or something like that, a couple little tags. And then I think it's in the curators packet. I grab a couple very small little circles that I'm just going to add to it. And they say something different, like class 8 or class 3, number such and such. And so since they look very similar, but since they were actually said something different, like a different number, I thought I could go ahead and use them because they are sisters. And I always have some of these black with white drawn leaves or branches, and I'm just going to tuck a couple behind each bird. And all I do is I draw them on cardstock with a white jelly pen, and then fussy cut them out. And I just do it while I'm watching TV, so I'll just do it, and then I have a bunch to use, and when I run low, I'm doing it again. So I'm getting ready to start gluing down. You can see I picked out a sentiment for the one on the left. That's going to be Miracles Happen, and I have a family member that's going through a rough time, and that's going to go to her, and she is kind of a sister to me. And I'm having trouble with my glue. There's like a little glob stuck in it, so I struggle with it a couple times and finally end up blowing it out, and it eventually works well, but initially it's like giving me little bits of trouble. And I clean it after. It doesn't really have a cap on it. This is barely art, and I like the glue and I like the whole thing here, but it doesn't have a cap where you can close it. You have to put the original cap back on. So the original cap can get clogged, or the precision cap can get clogged. I always, when I'm done, throw it in my tub of water that I keep at my desk, but I guess it just didn't clear it out enough. So I had to work with it a little bit. I wish it came with a cap though. And I was going to try to clip this bird down to help secure him, but by the time I press it down a few times, it is stained, so I think it's fine. I'm adding my little ephemera. The postcard that I used that the birds are in front of, that was one piece, and I thought, well, they're sisters, I'll put half on one and half on the other. And instead of just cutting it straight, I have these scissors that look like it was ripped or torn. I have a bunch of little scissors like that, so I just cut it in half. And this card that I'm gluing down, I did the vintage photo ink around the edges. I wish I would have done that to the other one, because I think it helped it. I didn't know that I missed it until I did it on that one. And I try not to glue right to the edge of things so that I can tuck things a little bit if I need to. And initially I was going to put that Miracles Happens above, and then I just didn't like it, and so I end up putting it down a little bit. I think, well, maybe I can stick it under there, but then I stuck it there, and I like that. So that one, well, no, it's not quite done, almost. And here I took some of one of Tim Holt's stickers. Everything has beauty. And even though they're sticky, to me it's not quite sticky enough for a project like this, so I just stuck a little glue on it and now it's good. And so I'm going to add one last stamp in the upper right corner on both of them. That's from the Eccentric Stampers Anonymous eccentric stamp. It's just a little number thing, and then that's it. I hope you enjoyed this process and encourage you to make some art. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't, and have a great day.